I'm here today to chat to Ben Brophy, who's the global head of cybersecurity for Reckitt Benckiser based in Switzerland. Reckitt Benckiser is a FTSE 100 listed health and hygiene company behind a wide range of consumer brands, such as Dettol, which has been at the forefront of meeting consumer needs during the pandemic. We know from our work in consumer businesses that these organizations are often being digitally transformed by major initiatives, such as cloud transformation, smarter factories, and direct-to-consumer business models. What we recognize, though, is many of these initiatives dramatically increase the risk of a cyber incident in terms of the impact it has on the organization. And this can lead to an erosion of consumer trust in the brand that's been built up over many years. We also know from Deloitte research that more than half of the executives in these organizations feel their own organization's cyber controls are inadequate in the face of the current threat environment. I think today's conversation is going to be really interesting because Ben came into his role in 2017 in the aftermath of a really significant NotPetya ransomware outbreak, which had a global impact on RB and led to over £100 million in damages. And so when I look at this subject, I think there are relatively few organizations where they can talk from the perspective of having gone through a transformational journey for 3 or 4 years after a ransomware incident. And so I'll be really interested to hear some of Ben's reflections on the lessons that have been learned along the way.
Probably one of them would be high level, high magnitude attacks targeting business to consumer. Right, so as I think what you'll find in the CPG world is a bit of a shift towards direct to consumer sales, and so it's a competitive landscape, right? So we've got to get out there and we've got to fight for our customers and our consumers, and security is becoming really important, almost a differentiator in terms of the trust that you need to build with your consumers and your customers, right? I'm going to buy your products, I'm going to use your products, I'm going to consume your products. And I might have to share personal information with you if I'm buying direct from your shops and sites. So I think that that there's got to be a big focus on that in the AppSec and e-commerce space. I think that's really important because you don't want to get in a cycle of customer churn, nor do you want disruption in your business operations. So I think that's something that we need to think about. I think the evolution of the cyber criminal business model, ransomware as a service, I think it's just going to become more and more sophisticated. Maze and Emotet, they're not gone. They're just rebranded, rebadged. They'll pop up somewhere else, and already have if you listen to some of the speculation out there. And I think that as cybersecurity leaders, we need to keep a very close eye on our third-party network in the supply chains, and the software supply chain is also going to be very important as organizations adopt cloud, as organizations come up with connected devices, for example, and we're working with third-party vendors to help build digital assets. How do we make sure that we've got line of sight around the security of those the security of those kind of digital assets that come into our environments that we might outsource to third-party vendors? It's very important to consider those. Get a good level of analysis done, leveraging the external threat landscape assessments, internal knowledge, look at your trends, and then work hard to shape that into meaningful structure from a strategy perspective. What are our key initiatives over the next 3-5 years? What does that look like? Get to a level of understanding around resourcing, time, cost, benefit, and then prioritize them. What I found very interesting was going through that process. There was a lot of support. You go to your strategy boards, your investment boards, and you have the conversation. And we have to realize in security and cybersecurity, we don't do security for security's sake. We do it to protect the business, to protect revenue, next year and into the future, to support the organization in achieving its goals. And there's clear evidence that if you don't, it's likely that the risks, when realized, will have a significant impact and impair your organization. And it's not just up to the decision of us in the security community and as leaders, it's the leaders of the business.
Yeah.
For them to make the decision on what's meaningful for them and, put it in risk terms or maturity of risk terms or whatever it is you need to get them to buy into it. Once you've got that done, it invigorates your team. It gives you very, very clear direction. You've built momentum and support and expectation from the business. It allows you to then have different conversations around prioritization in your IT functions or wherever it is that you're structured and with the business to say, hey, no, actually, we've defined the strategy. We've got our insights. We've got our rationale behind it. It's meaningful for our organization. We've taken it to the correct approval boards and support locations for support from the business. They've given it a thumbs up. We've got budget. We're off. I think when you come into a challenging space like cybersecurity, it is difficult to know where to start. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done focusing in on not wasting a good crisis, but being able to stop and think and focus on what really matters to the organization. Spending some time reflecting on prioritization based on risk and really making sure that you feel comfortable setting out a roadmap that absolutely is aligned to risk, and every penny that you spend is going to bring that risk down in line with risk appetite for the organization. So, the approach we're taking is, we're moving down the path towards what we call super SOC. And within that super SOC, we provide that scaled central security operations capability that has eyes across as much as we can get our eyes across and pull all the telemetry in. Now, within that SOC, there's going to be different ways, different skill sets. I mean, the way you respond to a cybersecurity incident in Google Cloud Platform is going to be different to AWS. It's going to be different to Azure. It's going to be different to on-prem. It's going to be different to end-user compute. It's going to be different pretty much on a per factory site across industrial control system security and monitoring. The way that perhaps we've tackled it in RB is, making sure we're clear on what the mission is, making sure that we're absolutely aligned to and supporting the overall business strategy, purpose, fight and goals strategically is also really important. I think you've got to have a sense of accomplishment along the way. And have some of those big wins and celebrate those successes. I think that's really important to be recognised. I think with that comes a bit of closure. Put that behind you. We've done that. That's great. And then what's next? I think it depends on your teams. Giving people the autonomy, the ownership, the accountability really helps. It lets them see change. It lets them know that they're contributing. So trying to keep that morale and that spirit moving forward is very, very difficult and can be challenging. Support from the top also helps because you've got air cover when you need it, and we have we've been very lucky in RB with some very supportive board members, some very supportive IT leaders, very supportive business leaders that help keep that energy and moving forward. Every year, let's do a fairly solid external threat landscape assessment that starts off global level and then boils down to what does that mean for RB. And that helps us level set. That helps us know if we need to change, pivot, reprioritize, shift our investment. Don't go and deploy CASB now. That's not really what the big problem is. The major threats for our organization may be sophisticated cyber criminals building out and evolving and enhancing, becoming much more bold around their malware, ransomware business models. So hey, don't worry about CASB, deal with that next year or whatever, park that, let's go and have a look at this.
So thank you, Ben, for sharing your experiences and insights with us. I found it a really interesting discussion today, and I always learn something from these conversations. If you've heard anything in today's video which you'd like to discuss, please do get in touch.